But I'd like to begin as an introduction to what I call completing last week's year. And you remember the Rashi had a whole discussion about whether or not we can give up someone for the sake of saving the entire community. So you give up one person, and the goyim are going to put him to death, and you save the entire community. And Rashi says that if he would have died anyway, that's Rashi's first shot, then you're allowed to. And secondly, Rashi says if he was chayav misa, like Sheva ben Bichri. That's based on the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan, who says that if they designate someone, then you can give him up. But I'm looking here in the Rambam, in Hilchas Yisodei HaTorah, Perek Hey, Halacha Hey. Nashim she'amru lehem ovdei kolcham tnu lanu achas mikem. Give us one. Choose one woman, v'nitma osa, and we'll do what we're going to do. V'im lav nitame es kulchem, yitamu kulam, v'al yibsu lehem nafesh achas miyisrael. Can't even choose one. And v'chenim amru lehem ovdei kolcham tnu lanu echad mikem v'nargenu, v'im lav narog es kulchem. And it sounds like the Rambam's talking about a situation in which even that person that they would give over, he's going to die as well. Yehargu kulam ve'al yimsu lahem nefesh achas miYisrael.
Sorry, the first case of the woman is
right to give up one woman for their.
Even if she's a pnuya.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. Rambam doesn't say whether she's going to see or pnuya, right. But we can't choose one woman for the sake of the many, even though Nitami is kulchem.
Right.
Now let's go on to the second case. That I want to focus on the second. So the second case is give us one person, we'll kill him, or we'll kill the entire group. And Rashi, if you remember, said that in that case they gave up Sheva ben Bichri and they were permitted to do so because he would have died anyway. Right. The Rambam says no. Al yibsu lehem nefesh achas miYisrael. And here we mentioned an amazing chiddush of Reb Chaim of Brisk, according to which Reb Chaim says you can't save yourself by setting up the death of someone else. Right. So that by giving up someone, you're doing a Maisa Hatzolah, but that Hatzolah is going to lead to his death.
Right.
So you're causing his death by saving yourself, and that you can't do. And Reb Chaim proved it from the Machlokes Shin ben Petura and Rabbi Akiva about the ketones. Right. So we're not going to go through that again. However, what we see here in this Rambam clearly is that the Rambam holds you can't save yourself by giving up someone in order to create a Maisa Hatzolah in which you will cause his death. So again, even though he's going to die anyway.
Right.
That's
he doesn't say whether it's named or not. He doesn't make it explicit, does he?
No. I'm saying if you have to choose one person.
Right.
And save the entire city, you can't choose one person. You can't give over one person. Because even though he's going to die anyway, the Rambam is saying, according to Reb Chaim's interpretation, that he's saving himself by causing the death of someone else.
Right, but didn't we say that Rashi said only in cases of Shuvah, not in case of a random person? No.
There are two different interpretations. Rashi offers two pshat. According to the first pshat, if he's going to die anyway, you can give him up. When to the second shot in Rashi, he's got to be chayav misa.
Right. Okay. And
so the Rambam is against. The Rambam is arguing against Rashi that even though this person that you're going to give up is going to die anyway, you're still doing a hatzolah that's going to be effectuate. You're going to accomplish that hatzolah by causing his death. That act of Masira is kind of like a gram. And that you can't do, even though he's going to die anyway. Right.
But he's silent about whether the guy's chayav misa.
Whether the guy what?
Whether that person is chayav misa.
No. Right now we're not holding by that yet. Now the Rambam goes on, and he says the following: the im yichdu lahem. They designated one person. The amru tein lanu ploni onarages kulchem. And you and I would have said that person maybe is a Rotzeach, but the Rambam is saying, no, he's not a Rotzeach. I'm sorry, scratch it. You and I would have said he's a Rodef, and the Rambam is saying, no, he's not a Rodef. So you can't give him up. And perhaps he's not a Rodef because there already is a Rodef, if you follow me. Okay. Then he writes, V'im hoyu mechuyev misa keshev ben bichri, yitnu oso lahem, which sounds like you can give him up. Thank you so much, Eddie. Good to see you. And he says, but ein morin kain lechatchila. The Rambam says that even lechatchila, even in the case of Yiftu, and even in a case where they're all going to die in any event, lechatchila, we don't give them up. So you see to what extent the Rambam takes this halacha that to save one person at the expense of saving someone, at the expense of giving someone else, is prohibited to such an extent. Now, there's a very important Rashi in Chumash. So let me just read the pasuk to you here in Gracious Mem Gimel. I mentioned it at the end of last week, but I want to see the Rashi inside. It says like this: Vayomer Yehuda el Yisrael of Shilcha Hanar. Who's the Nar? Binyamin. Iti v'nakuma v'neelecha v'nichya v'lo namus. If we don't bring Binyamin down to Yosef, right, we're going to die. Gam anachnu, gam ata, gam tapenu. What's he basically saying when he says gam ata and anachnu v'tapenu? We're all going to die. We're all going to die. And Rashi says, v'lo namus b'ra'av, meaning if we don't give up Binyamin and take him down to Yosef, we're all going to die of famine. And now Rashi explains the logic of Yehuda and presumably why he was able to prevail over Yaakov, and Yaakov gave his consent. Binyamin safek yitofes v'safek lo yitofes. V'anachnu kulanu mesim b'rav im lo nelech. Mutav shetaniach es hasafek v'titfos es havada. In other words, Binyamin may die, may not die. He may be incarcerated by Yosef, he may not. We don't know that for a fact. It's an uncertainty. But one thing we know certainly, we're all going to die if we don't bring Binyamin down. And this, according to Rashi, was the powerful, cogent argument of Yehuda that prevailed over Yaakov. And Yaakov agrees to let Binyamin go down.
It's mashma that if he knew for a fact that Binyamin would have died, he wouldn't have been allowed to.
Correct. Even though they would all die, we couldn't give Binyamin up to death because, again, that would be Hatzolah. And through that, and how did you accomplish that Hatzolah? By giving up someone to die. However, if you're not giving him up to die vadai, but only a safek, then it's permissible. But again, only in that condition, that kulanu mason, that we're all going to die. So that's an important Rashi. Okay. Okay, what I'd like to do now is begin the Mishnah on Daf Ayin Gimel. The elu shematzilin osan b'nafshan. Now, the Mishnah says we're going to save them, right? Osan. And I always hate pronouns because I never know who it's referring to. But who are we saving over here? For example, he's got Rodef achar chaver lahargo, achar azachar, we're talking about Mishkav Zachar, the achar anara murasos, we're talking about an ones situation. And in all the above, we're allowed to kill him in order to what? What's the key word in the Mishnah?
Save him.
To save him, Matzilin. Who are we saving? Okay, in the case of a Rodef Chaver L'Harga, I understand who we're saving. But take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, Matzilin Oson Min Ha'Avera. What does that sound like to you?
We're talking about the potential Rotseach.
Well, not only Rotseach.
Well, okay, in the case of Zachar and
Nara Murasa.
Yeah, but so it's also like, well, it could be either. I mean, they're also.
But what does it mean, Min Ha'Avera? Who's guilty of an Avera over here? Who, if we don't save him from what? From an Avera, right? Rashi doesn't say that we're saving the Nara Murasa. Rashi doesn't say that we're saving the Zachar from Mishkav Zachar, the one who's about to be forced. Rashi says, Matzilin Osan Min Hachet, Min Avera. What does that sound like to you? Again, I don't know. Maybe I'm the odd man out over here, but
no, it's killing the person about committed.
No, but
that's a person.
What's the din that it's better to kill somebody than to make him be chayte, because to kill someone you only kill them from Olam Hazeh.
Doesn't it sound like Rashi is saying that, Eli? Again, if you want to say Berzon, you're prejudicing us and this is not the Pshat Rashi, fine. You could throw me out and say, okay, Berzon, it was nice to having you here in Alon Shvut and this and that, but go fly kite. But if you read the Rashi the way I read the Rashi,
you're reading like when Sarah Mara. You're reading as
yes, Min Ha'Avera.
Yes, but
so I don't know what he means. Maybe Rashi means Min Ha'Avera that's going to be committed against someone else. I don't know, but it sounds like he's saying Min Ha'Avera of the Chote. Now let me ask you a question. Let's say you see a person who's about to violate the Shabbos. Can I kill him? Eli, you with me on this? Can I kill him in order to prevent him from a capital crime of violating the Shabbos? So take a look at the Mishnah, and the Mishnah says the following: the Elu ain't shematzilin osam min avera, according to Rashi benafshan, and we have the whole list. Avol, listen to the Avol in the Mishnah. Rodef achar behema. If he's going to have a sodomy action, b'machalas a Shabbos, he's about to violate the Shabbos. Orva oved ovodes kolchavim, he's about to worship an idol. Ein matzilin osan benafshan. And again, what word will you add to the word osan? Ben avera. When do we save him from an avera? That's only in the first three cases, namely ritzicha, zachar for mishkav zachar, and armurasa leonsa. But if you're saving him from an avera of bias behema, or revia, it's called, or of chil Shabbos, or of os kochavim, even though all those three are what? Are capital crimes, but that we don't kill him to save him from the avera. So apparently Rashi is setting up two different categories. Each category has three members to it, and maybe more, but three that are explicit. And in the first three, there we were going to kill him to save him from an avera. In the second three, we're not going to kill him to save him from an avera. So my question is twofold. Number one, are we dealing with a rodef situation? It's a funny kind of rodef that was saving him from an avera. It's like he's being rodef himself almost. And secondly, what are these two categories and what's the fundamental difference between the two? That's what I wanted to ask you.
Well, it involves two people in the first one.
Right.
But all two. So you're saving both. You're saving a couple from an avera. In the second law,
right. Well,
sounds like Rashi's trying to explain the difference there.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
so let's read the Rashi. Okay, then. So Rashi is going to try to give us an insight to this. Says Rashi, "Aval rodef acher behemel rava, barotza lavod avodas kochav l'chal Shabbos, kolshkein shar krisos of Mises Bezdin, because now we're dealing in the highest, most severe level of chiyuv Mises Bezdin. Is if she'enon arayos, if those other Mises Bezdin are not arayos, delo nitan latzilo benafsho el midavar shehu erva." Listen carefully. v'yesh ba kalon upagam lanirda. So Rashi describes and defines the first category. And Rashi is saying that it's not enough that there's an Avera, and an Avera as severe as an Erva, because that you have in Behema, right? And in Revias Behema. But it's got to be not only an Erva, it's also got to be Yeshba Kolon Upgam Lanirda. Higon Zachar Venara Hamuros.
But they're also they're nifgam by the action.
Now, I don't know the difference between the two. In my mind, they're both the same. There probably is a nuance of a difference if Rashi uses two words. But kolon upgam means that a person's status and reputation, and we'll call it their taras hanefesh, is going to be
Tarnished.
Excellent. I like that. Excellent. Thank you. Their dignity,
The reputation,
in modern,
their standing.
modern law, people can't be, you can't go to Kesed if your Avera had Kalam.
Yeah, but
Kalam is like added.
a very sheish kolon.
Yeah, right. Kalam, you can't serve the Kesed.
You can't what?
You can't serve the Knesset after you.
Oh, you serve in Knesset. No, I'm not sure if that word kolon means the same thing as this.
Probably
I don't know.
Maybe.
But what I would like to try to do is to try to figure out where Rashi was coming from. Where did Rashi come up with this whole explanation that these cases of Narurosa and Rodef Achar Hazachar, these are cases of what? Of Yeshbo Kalon Upagam.
To who?
To the victim.
To the victim, yes, but so that's the whole point. There's two people here.
The victim?
Yeah.
What do you care about the behemoth?
No, that's the thing.
Behem is not.
That's the point.
Behem is
You don't
in the
care about the
second
behem,
category
and therefore
because
there you
Ein
don't.
ba kalon v'pgam. You follow? We're not impressed with the animal.
Right.
If you follow what I mean.
Right.
Again, you want to claim be kind to animals, but not only that, it could be the animal is a consenting adult. I don't know. But in any event, there's no kalon v'pgam for an animal, and there's no kalon v'pgam in the case of Chil Shabbos or Avodas Kochel. So where was Rashi coming from?
Look, it's a very good start to be machalek between the camps.
Yeah, I'll
Correct.
say two.
First of all,
Maybe that itself is how Rashi came up. Correct?
Easier thing to just say two and one.
Right.
So you just said one. It's like a very libertarian argument that no one's going to be affected by it, so
yeah.
we won't legislate.
So I think that maybe Rashi got it from the Gemara of Rav Yehuda. Take a look for a minute. We'll fast forward for a moment. And if you count up from the end of the Amud, approximately 10 lines.
Mhm.
You see Rav Yehuda, let's see, 1,
Mhm.
2,
Yeah,
3,
exactly
4,
10.
5, 6, 7,
Rabbi Yehuda.
10 lines.
Rabbi Yehuda.
Okay. So what is Rabbi Yehuda going to tell us? Oh, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Af Homeres hinicho lo shelo yahargenu. Now I'm looking to see if the Masifta enhances on this. Let me just find this for a second. There it is on the left column. Rabbi Yehuda, he says, Cholek al Rabbanon. Okay, we haven't seen the sheet of the Rabbanon yet, but he says that you'll have to go to Amud Beis. Okay, so Bolinetta will get to Amud Beis. But what's Rabbi Yehuda's shita? Af Homeres, she says to those who want to save her, Hanichulo. What does hanichulo mean?
Leave him alone.
Azvu es harodev. Achra. It's basically she's saying, don't kill him in order to save me. And what does that sound like to you? In halachic terms. I'm looking for one word that I think would be appropriate here. If she says don't kill him, askama, another word,
Okay.
mechila, excellent. It sounds like mechila on her part. Now, if she is mocheles and there's no din of killing the guy who's about to rape her, let's say, then what are you talking about? He's about to commit a capital crime with a nara murasa.
Unless she thinks that if they don't stop, then something worse is going to happen.
Okay, that's good. But at the end of the day, even if she makes that decision, she's basically saying, let him be, meaning she's agreeing for whatever reason that the mice is going to happen.
Is that called honest?
Excellent question. I don't know if it's honest or not honest, but I'm thinking that this might be mechila. Take a look now on Ayin Gimel Amid Beis for a moment, and the Gemara has here b'maika miflagi. Can you find that? It's if you have the Masifta, it'll say Ayin Gimel Amid Beis with an aleph, a bracketed aleph, and then you look on the left column, and it says Rabbi Yehuda Omer Afa Omer Sinichulo Shelo Yargenu Ein Matzilin Osa B'Nafsho. And the Gemara says that the Rabbanan rejected it. We'll have to find the Rabbanan, but let's first focus on this machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'maika miflagi. What are they arguing about? Amar Rava, the machlokes is b'makpedes al pigma u'menichasa shelo yargena. Do you see the word pigma there?
Mm-hmm.
That is like another form of which word that we saw in Rashi? Pagam. I mean, I'm beginning to see where Rashi's coming from. And there's a concept called makpedes. What's the opposite of makpedes? Mocheles. So the issue now is whether she's makpedes on pigma or she's mocheles on pigma. And it seems like if the nar muras would be mocheles al pigma, and you know what? Let the boil do what he's about to do to me, and that's okay. Let's say she would agree. Then there would be no din of matzilin osa, because she agreed. Now, if we're saying that the reason matzilin osa in avera is in order to prevent him from doing an avera, which again is impossible because the other three cases in the Mishnah, in the Sefer, right? But if you would say such a thing, then who cares if she's mocheles? We're saving him from the avera. Whereas Eli said before, better than he go up to Shemayim, with a kapar of bisa before he does the avera. And counsel of Rabbi Yehuda, he says, no, she's not mocheles. And as Eli said before, she's only doing this in order to save her life. But she's not mocheles al pigma. But the strong implication here is that had she been mocheles al pigma, we would not kill the rodev in order to save her from the avera of an aramurasa ba'onus, of an onus situation. So Rashi drew the following conclusion then, that if the din of matzilin oso v'nafsho depends upon whether she's mocheles or not mocheles, then it really comes down to pagam and kalon. And if she's mocheles on her personal pagam and kalon, then there's no din of matzilin oso v'nafsho, and there's no din of road. That's what I think is going on over. Now, David, we're ready for what you said before. And Amar Rava, let's go over it again. V'makpedes al pigma v'eina mizana imo birdsona. So again, she's very careful about her pagam. She doesn't want to, be a woman who was violated. But umanichaso shelo yargena. She's saying, don't kill him. Why don't kill him? because she's afraid that if they start up with him, then Yargen. So what motivated her to allow them to stand by passively, idly, and not intervene? What was she motivated by? Saving her life, right? She wanted to save her life. She felt that if they would intervene, he's gonna murder her because he's raping her with at knife point, let's say. So it comes out that Rabbanan Sabri, let's go on, a pigma kapid rachmana. We're going to kill him anyway. Why? Because harei makpedes al pigma. Right? She is makpedes. She's only doing this because she's afraid to lose her life. Rabbi Yehuda Sover, Hai de Kamer Achmana Katle Mishum de Masra Nafshi L'Ktola, V'Holo Masra Nafshi L'Ktola. So Rabbi Yehuda counters against the Rabbanon, and he says that why is the Torah allowing you to kill this Rodef? It's because her life is in danger. And here in this case, her life is not in danger. So Rabbi Yehuda says it all depends upon whether her life is in danger or not. And here she's making a statement that I'm going to go through with this action in order to save my life. So she's not in a situation of Mesiris Nefesh. But again, one thing is clear, that according to the Chachamim, the reason why we will kill the Rodef is because Makpedes al Pigma. And had she not been Makpedes al Pigma, then we would not intervene and we would not kill the Rodef.
Because if she's like a salsa water, then it's fine. You leave him alone. But if she's someone who's like a cursor, then you. We're going to assume that she's upstanding, and if we know that she has a reputation of being a Zion, then
even Rabbi Yehuda agrees that she's upstanding.
Yeah.
And she is Makpedes al Pigma. And according to Rabbanan, then we have all the checklist, all the conditions are met in order to kill the Rodef because of Pgam.
Right.
Comes over Rabbi Yehuda, no, it's got to be Pgam plus another factor, and that's got to be that her life is in danger. If I can remove one of those two factors, either she's not Makpedes al Pigma, which we call Mechila, or alternatively, even if she is Makpedes al Pigma, Rabbi Yehuda says it's got to be a case where her life is in danger. If her life is not in danger, for example, she says, let him do it because otherwise I'm going to die, then we don't intervene because her life is not in danger. The Rabbanan, on the other hand, are saying, no, there's only one condition. And that is that she has Pagam and she's Makpedes al Pigma. The purpose of killing the Rodef is to protect her Pagam, not to protect her life.
Right.
That's a big finish.
Which sheet, Eli, are you talking about? Rabbanan, yeah, go ahead.
Because of Makpedes al Pigma, therefore we're going to allow someone else to kill.
Like
You have cases in the Torah about Gaham Boshes and Refuah that you have. I mean, there's a value. There should be a dollar amount on the Pagam of the girl. So the status is a tremendous finish for the Rabbanan. The only reason why we allow someone else to go and kill this guy is because she's makpid on her.
And also because it's a capital crime. We're talking about a Nara Uras. We're not talking about a Pnuya. So if you have a capital crime, and as a result of that crime, she'll be in a state of Gam and Kalon, and she's not Mocheles, that, according to Rabbanan, is enough to set up a din of Rodef. Now,
the assumption is that it's false. In other words, two consensual males, you wouldn't be able to kill anybody, even though they're both committing an affair.
Right, even if it's a capital crime, and even if it's Kalon, right? So wait, what does it say in the Mishnah? Yeah, and you're talking about what, a different case?
No, I'm just saying it's consensual. There's no rediffa as such.
Then it would be mochelis. Then it would be
And about Machal,
right. It says, "Elain shematzilin osam benafshan arodif achar bela hargo achar zochar v'achar namaros." So in those two cases of zochar and namaros, it's because she's makpedus or he's makped on his kalon.
right.
If he's mochel on his kalon, then we're not going to save him by killing the rodent.
Right.
So if you have two consenting adults, then obviously he's not makped on his kalon.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I would like to look in the Rambam again, back in Perkei Milchus Sodia Torah, but go back one halacha previously, halacha Dal. Listen carefully. We read this Rambam more than once. I'm sorry. Kol mi shenemar bo yeharig val yavor. So what's the deal? He has to give up his life, correct? V'nerag v'lo ovar, harei ze kiddush Hashem, etc., etc.
That's implying that if he does, then
Listen carefully. V'chol misha nemar bo yeharig val yavor v'ovar v'lo nera. So in order to save his life, he violated, let's say, for example, Gimel Averos Kamuros. Harei ze mechalos Hashem. Im hoye b'fnei asor b'Yisrael harei ze chilos Hashem barabim. Ubito mitzvah seishi kiddush Hashem. The overall mitzvahs lo saseshu chil Hashem. The afal pichein, says the Rambam, midnesha over be'ones, ein malkin so the ein tzarich lo m'shein memisen so bezdin. There's no punishment.
does he leave the option open for Mr. Dashamayim?
For what?
For Mr. Dashamayim or for certain paras?
In this case, he doesn't say anything about that.
Bryson does.
He just says, ein memisen so, ein malkin so. And why, says the Rambam? They shall offer ba'onis. Those are the three key words. Now, if you take a look in the Kesef Mishnah, so he quotes Rav Moshe Cohen, who disagrees with the Rambam. And Rav Moshe Cohen says, Mikevan, on the words of the Rambam, Mikevan sha'over ba'onis ein malkin so ein memisen so tmioli. Says the Ramach, I don't understand the Rambam. After all, he's saying that the halacha would require him to give up his life. So really he has no heter of onus. He can't, you follow? He's saying low onus. He's not an onus. The Torah says in this case that what is he required to do? Anybody following me?
Give up his life.
He has to give up his life.
So basically the bar consider according to the.
Well, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it bar ketila, yeah, if that's what you mean, he's tied pieces best. In other words, we have no mitigating circumstance in to allow him off the hook for any violation that he violated, because the Torah commands him in this case, even though he'll have to give up his life, not to violate the Avera. So we have here a fascinating and fundamental machlokas between the Rambam and the Ramach about the following question: can you claim onus in a case where the circumstances are such that the Torah requires you to give up your life rather than violate the Avera? According to the Rambam Shita, you're still in onus. Why? Because he did it only because of Pachad Misa, right? Because he wanted to avoid death. You know, you weren't trying to deliberately violate the Torah.
It's not the best thing that he did. He didn't do what was right, but it's still on it.
Right, he did it under coercion. He's not a deliberate violator. You know, if all things were equal, he didn't want to violate the Torah. But the Ramach says, wait a minute, you know what? That circumstance or that consideration that he didn't want to die is not a consideration in halacha, because the halacha says die. That's what the Torah requires. If the Torah requires it, you can't say you're honest on that which the Torah requires. The Torah is saying to make that decision, and rather than violate the Avera, give up your life. So now you're going to tell me, well, you're an honest? What do you mean you're an honest? The Torah tells you, give up your life. And the Rambam is saying, no, but he was afraid of dying. He didn't want to die. And the Rambam is saying he wasn't a deliberate violator. It's kind of like if you have a scale from 0 to 100, how guilty, how amazing is amazing. You're in that gray area. The Rambam and the Ramach are arguing. The Ramach is saying you're 100% of a violator because the Torah demands that you avoid this aver and you violate it. And the Rambam is saying, wait a minute. There's still a 10% here of a justification, if you will, as to why he violated the aver, and that lowers it down from 100 to 90. The Ramach might agree, okay, we'll lower it down. I'll give you a percentage point, but it's not enough to make you into an honest.
But the results of an arm, he's cognizant, right? Maybe that's because he's causing other people to be.
You're talking, and now you're learning Masechet Sota, right? Is that it? Masechet Sota. So you want to know about what's called the Yoreh Varach Leva.
Yes, if it's a Machalas
mitzvah. All right. I just want to see if we can plug this in to our sugi here. What happens over here? Rabbi Yehuda says the following. When the Torah says, kill the person who's about to rape a Nara Murasa, that's Mishum de Masra Nafshal Ketala. Meaning, if she wasn't willing to give up her life for Ketala, then what are you doing? You're preventing her from what? Says Rabbi Yehuda. From an Avera that she's participating in. Do you follow what I'm saying? She made a decision. I'm not going to give up my life. Don't touch this guy. I'm going to go through with it. We'll have a nice, relationship here, and I'll survive. So again, to tell you that she deliberately wanted to violate the Avera, absolutely not. But to tell you that she was making a decision that rather than die, which she was required to do, she says, let him go, let him off. So Rabbi Yehuda says in such a case, we're not going to kill the Rodeh because she is basically part of the Avera. She is participating in the Avera, although again, not willing. Well, let's go with the Shita the Chacham. The Chacham are going to say, you know what? We got to prevent this Avera from happening because this is Kalon and this is Pagam. And you can't blame her in any sense for being guilty here of deciding to go through the Avera because it's an honest situation. So in order to save her from an honest, we're going to kill the Rodeh. But again, who would consider him a Rodeh? Only the Rambam would consider him. I'm sorry. Who would consider him a third time? Sorry. Who would consider her an anus? Only the Rambam. The Rambam would say that she's trying to save her life, and even though the Torah requires her to give up her life, but she's considered an honest. We can punish her in any way and whatsoever. So kill the Rodeh. But according to the Ramach, Rabbi Yehuda makes more sense because you can't say, well, save her because she's an honest. She's not an honest because she made the decision that she wants to give up. All right, that's what I think perhaps is going on. Say again? The Ramach is Rabbi Yehuda. There's no onus, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda says you can't kill the Rodeh, and the Chacham say kill the Rodeh. Rabbi Yehuda says if she made the decision that leave him alone because she wants to save her life, then we're not going to kill the Rodeh. No, if you see her as an onus, then we're going to kill the Rodeh. That's the Rabbanan sheet. But Rabbi Yehuda refuses to classify her as an onus. She made that decision. She's going through with it. We're not going to kill the Rodeh.
Because she is mochel the kalam.
So then what happens?
No, I'm not saying she's both on the kalon.
No, whatever,
Right.
not
The
exactly.
Gemara says, "Apgima kapokin
Yes.
rachman." No, ve'varei makpedes al pgama. So we have pgam. What do you mean?
You have a case of znus beneishas ish, so she's chayav misa afterwards.
It depends. Are you going according to Ramach? According to Ramach, if she did this action, be Eidim Basra, she's going to be put to death. That's the Ramach. I mean, again, the Ramach is saying that if you did an Avera and you made that decision to do the Avera and it's a capital crime, you will be put to death. Unless you're an honest. Well, what's an honest? Comes along the Ramach and he says you can't call yourself an honest when the Torah says in that situation there is no honest. Right? The greatest honest is when you have to give up your life at gunpoint. And the Torah is saying that even in the situation of honest, you have to go ahead and give up your life to avoid the Avera. You can't claim honest.
Right.
That's the Ramach.
But if she's not, so she's not an honest, then
It shall be put to death. And not only that, comes along Rabbi Yehuda, we don't kill the Rodev. Why? Because to kill the Rodev, what we want to do is we want to save her from an honest situation. But she's not an honest. If she's not an honest, she is actually participating in this terrible event.
so it's like almost switched over, because Ravina sounds more maker, but the Ramach is actually, in other words, you can only kill.
Well, in a sense, Rabbi Yehuda is makil in terms of the Rodev,
Yeah.
but he's sort of being machmir in case of her, you know.
I mean, you understand, I mean, according to Ramah, if she would have asked the Ramah, right, as it was about to happen, right? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
You're supposed to give up your life. Refuse to have
I'm
sex.
afraid he's gonna kill me. I'm afraid he's gonna kill me.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, because
The Torah is tough as nails.
right?
I once heard
Each of the
from
three
Rav
of them.
Soloveitchik, he used to say, the Torah is not a bowl of cherries. Sometimes the Torah can be tough as nails.
No, but that's how you.
I don't know, Rabbi
That's
Akiva
like-
waited for the opportunity to give up his life. I'm not on that madrig. So for me, I'm going to pray that let me find other ways of being Mekadesh Shem Shammai. That's not exactly the way I want to go. You know what I
If
mean?
you were more like, maybe Judas wanted to survive, so you could have done it that way as well. If we start off from a thing where you could be medical, we don't have to give up the lab for these kind of situations, then it might have been a slippery slope.
And maybe Judaism wouldn't survive.
Yes.
Could be. Could be. You know, there's a story going around, it's already a year or two, not from yesterday, about a secular Israeli famous guy. I don't know if he's I think he's a journalist. I don't remember the details. I'll have to ask my wife. And he tells a story that he was online to buy what's it called? Treifa. What's the famous chain store? McDonald's. When he got up to the line, to the head of the line, he said, "No, I'm not buying McDonald's." And I think it was his wife who asked him why not. And he tells a story that as the Americans were coming in to free the camps, the Nazis got a hold of his grandfather. And they said to him, "Eat this pork," or whatever it was. And he refused to. And a minute later, he could have survived. They shot him on the spot. So my grandfather gave his life not to eat treif, and I'm going to now buy treif. The secular guy, he said it. You're not familiar with the story? Yeah. You could probably Google it. If David was here, you'd find it on Google. Yeah. Okay, now where are we up to now? Okay, 1 second. Yeah. I want to show you something here on Daf Ayin Dal. We have halacha called Yachol Hatzilo Bi'echad Meivarav. Do you remember this? So it's on line 3 on Daf Ayin Dal. Shoot for the legs, right?
We still We back to Aval Materis or Roger, because we said that there's a
Well, right now, we're talking about Rodei, but we'll see if Bob Macheres will come into play. Okay? So Abai Omar, the Yoch Ayin Dalin Omer Aleph line 3. Abai Omar Yochel Atzilo Bechad Meivarav, Rabbi Yonasan ben Shol, the Sanya, Rabbi Yonasan ben Shol Omer, Rodeif Shahir, Rodeif Achar Chavero Lehargo, the Yochel Atzilo Bechad Meivarav Lo Hitzil, Nerag Olav. Wow. You could have shot for the legs, and instead you killed the Rodeif. And you chayav misa. You're nerag ol. Correct? Now, excellent question. Let me first read the Rambam. I think you brought me a Rambam, did you not? Yeah. Okay. Listen to the Rambam. Perak Aleph Mehilchos Rotzeach, Halacha Yud Gimel. Kol sheyochol lahatzil be'ever me'ivarav, v'lo tarach b'klach ela hitzil b'nafshel shel rodei v'hargo, harezeh shofech damim, v'chayav misa, aval ein bezdin b'misanoso. Remember, David, this distinction that sometimes a person deserves to die, but Bezdin won't put him to death. Now, I'm asking myself the following question. If you're telling me that he's a shofech damim for killing the rodin, and you're telling me that he's chayav misa, so why ain't Bezdin b'misanos?
We're assuming there's 8 minutes here.
Yeah, otherwise the Rambam doesn't have to tell me ain't Bezdin b'misanos. Yeah. So let me, you know, in the yeshivas they talk about a chakira. Let me give you a chakira, and you tell me which side of the chakira would justify the Rambam's conclusion that ain't bezdin b'misanos. When you could have shot for the legs and saved the nirdaf without having to kill the rodev, is it A or B? Here's my chakira. Is it that Paka Shem rodev? He's not a rodev anymore. Or no, he's still a rodev, but you're not allowed to kill him. Which one of those two definitions is the Rambam operating with when the Rambam says ein memisa? Are we removing the status as a rodev, or is he still considered a rodev? Does he have a shem rodev, or the fact that you could have saved the niddah without killing the rodev means he's not a rodev?
Second one.
I don't remember which was first, which is second.
In other words, that he is the Rodef. He's still called the Rodef.
Yes,
You have to distinguish. Because if he weren't a Rodef at all, then it should be Mimitzino.
Excellent. You hear what Yechiel saying? He say it's got to be that way. The Rambam is saying that there's a halach of Yochel Atzilo Bechad Me'afarov, and you're not allowed to kill the Rodef, but he is a Rodef. If he's not a Rodef, then if you kill him, then you should be Chayav Misa because he's not. You killed someone who's not a Rodef. But I want to read to you a Ravid that I think might be disagreeing with this Rambam. I'm not sure.
Well, Rahman decided how many that he.
The Ravid says the following. You see, the trouble with this Ravid is that he speaks like a cryptic language here. You know, it's like a yeah. I think the Radbaz, I think, will explain to us the Ravid. Let me just see. Tanya, Rabbi Yonasan, this is the Radbaz explaining the Ravid. Tanya, Rabbi Yonasan ben Shol Omer Rodef Achar Chaver Lahargo V'Yochol Latzilo B'Echad Meidvarov Below Hitzil Nerag Olav V'Hesig Olav Aravid Kashali Avner Kavanoso Lomar the Af B'Yisrael Adin Kach Kira Ashkechan B'Uvda etc. etc. All right, so this is a long Radbaz here, which we have to go through maybe another time, line by line. But suffice it to say that the Rambam is differentiating between a Ben Noach and a Yisrael. I'll explain what that means. And the Ravid saying no, even by Yisrael, the din is the same. The Rambam is saying that there's certain cases where a Ben Noach does X and is put to death. A Ben Yisrael who does X is not put to death. So, for example, the Rambam writes that Ben Noach who kills an Ubar, the Mei Imo, is Neragol, he'll be put to death. But that's only a Ben Noach. A Yisrael that kills an Ubar is not put to death. Or, for example, the Rambam says that if Ben Noach kills a Treifa, that's someone who's going to die anyway, he's Chayav Misa. Or Gramer Tzicha. If a Ben Noach ties someone up, and then he's swallowed up by a lion, or Shenicha Barav, or he let him without food and he tied him up, and Shil Shemeis, Nera. And Ben Noach Shaharag Rodev, the Yochel Latzilo Be'echad Meivarav Nerag of Masha Enke B'Yisrael. So that the Rambam here in Hilchas Malachim is consistent with what we saw at the beginning of Hilchas Rotzeach, namely that if you could have killed him, if you could have saved him by only what? By shooting the legs, then the Rambam says we don't put you to death. And we want to die from that the Rambam holds that he still has a Shem Rodef. He hasn't lost his Shem Rodef simply because you could have prevented the death in the Nirda by shooting for the legs. But the Ravid says Kashali Avner, and basically, according to the Radbaz at least, what the Ravid wants to say, Kavanos Salom, the Af B'Yisrael Adin Kain. What does that mean, Af B'Yisrael Adin Kain? Again, are you with me? The Rambam says that if Yisrael killed a Rodef, and the Jew could have shot for the legs, then he would be killed. So then what does the Ravid understand by Yochel Latzil Mechad Meivarav? As opposed to the Rambam? No, yeah, that I know, but I'm asking for the underlying conceptual definition. Yeah, I'm always
in your Hakir, there is no longer a road.
Paka Shem Rodef. So again, let's go over this one more time. The Rambam has low Paka Shem Rodef, just so you're not letting kill him as you normally would allow it to be killed a Rodef, but he's still a Rodef. And then Afkamina is going to be, says the Rambam, that if you killed him, you killed the Rodef, we can't put you to death. The Ravid, on the other sense, we're going to put you to death for killing the Rodef when you didn't have to kill the Rodef, meaning that since it's Yochel Atzil Mechad Meivarav, Paka Lo Shem Rodef. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Now, Eli comes forward and he asks the following question. Tell me if this is your question. What happens if we'll call them the bystanders or the spectators, are situated in two different locations, right? So there's Reuven's trying to kill Shimon. So Reuven's a Rodef. And there's Levi and Yehuda. Levi is situated in a place where he could shoot for the legs, but Yehuda doesn't have that option. Or let's say Reuven has a weapon and the Levi doesn't have a weapon. So what are we going to tell Levi in this case? Levi comes and asks the question: should I kill Reuven who's about to kill Shimon? And one side would say, well, why are you killing Reuven? I mean, Levi is there. I'm sorry,